Dovrei kumwili sa slima po wanga sawana mucha. Unta chiwita inka ki kraya na chawanga kone. Tong hite mosi jokia yumba litawa e bawa tune ruta. Tiumpe, dove punta krita zino mulera nibono.
So today, we're going to tear apart a single, super tense negotiation from deep inside a criminal underworld. We're going to peel back the layers on just one conversation to really understand the brutal logic and maybe even the code of honor that drives these life or death decisions. Let's dive in.
It all kicks off with this one line. Right away, before you even know what's going on, you can just feel the exhaustion, That sense that this is a cycle that just keeps on repeating. This one quote from a guy named Cost, man, it sets the entire mood for what's about to happen. It's that sound of someone who's tired, but also knows exactly what's coming next.
So, what is coming next? Well, after a pretty rough patch, this Puerto Rican crew is looking to jump back into the ketamine trade, which is, incredibly lucrative. And look, this isn't just about making money. This is about them getting their status back, taking back control of the drug trade on the sands of Vice Beach. For them, the stakes really couldn't be any higher.
Yeah, but getting back in isn't as easy as just picking up the phone and placing an order. No way! They've got to earn the trust of their supplier, Silver Tea.
Tiompo doronta krita, kiwana domino sa fravata. Ato nu figda mordarita kish, neboto de kingachu.
And they do that by putting in work, doing a couple of favors. See, this isn't just business. It's a test to see if they're still loyal, still competent.
Todin puto gasa makrich, mezoto drima krasa suto butu, kranawici soburamwa, gudama sako chiro sumbasina.
Upa poska tuana chekopa muska, tu upa do punta krita, mulera wi badana ita wish nun unlanze.
And this is where we get to the real problem. The price tag, the cost of getting back in the game. And we're not talking about small favors here. What Silver Tea is asking for is extreme, and it pushes the crew to this massive moral and strategic crossroads. So let's see what's on the table.
Okay, so here are the two favors, laid out plain and simple. First, they have to smoke, or kill, a rival Cuban crew that robbed their supplier. Now this is violent for sure, but it kind of falls within the unwritten rules of their world. But the second job, that's different. They have to clap or silence a journalist who's digging into Silver Tea's past. And this is where things get really, really complicated.
So right away, these two demands create a huge conflict between the two leaders, the capanes of the crew, Cost and Jetty. And what happens next is this super tense debate, not just about whether they should even take the job, but about who they are, what their principles are, their very identity. This slide just lays it out perfectly, right? It shows their two completely opposing worldviews. On one side, you've got Cost. He's the doubter. He's weighing the risk versus the reward, and he's questioning if this is even morally right. And then on the other side, you've got Jetty, the pragmatist. He only sees the opportunity, and he wraps the violence up in this very specific code of honor.
So Cost kicks things off with a totally practical question. He's asking that classic question. Is the potential reward, getting back into the ketamine game, is it really worth the massive risk of these two hits? He's the voice of caution here, the one thinking about what could go wrong. But Jetty, he is not having any of that. She shuts that line of thinking down immediately. He basically tells Cost, don't look at the risk, look at the prize. For Jetty, this isn't some dangerous chore. This is the key to them ruling the sands again. It's a game changer. And game changers, in his mind, they require big, decisive moves.
Now, you see what Cost does here. He shifts his argument. It's not just about risk anymore. Now it's about their status, their pride. He's comparing their crew to other, more established crime families, and he's saying this kind of violent wet work is beneath them. He's basically asking, are we the bosses, or are we just a hired help?
And this, right here, is Jetty's knockout punch. He completely rejects that comparison and brings their cultural identity into it. And that phrase is crucial. We punch up. For Jetty, this isn't just random violence, it's a code. They don't attack people on their level or below them, they attack up, at anything that's a threat or an obstacle to their power, and that justifies everything.
So, how does this big, intense moral debate get resolved? Well, it doesn't. There's no compromise, no agreement. In their world, talking for too long is a sign of weakness.
The conversation just stops, and the violence begins.
Yup, Jetty's punch-up philosophy wins the day. Not because he actually convinced Cost, but because he just made Cost's doubts totally irrelevant. In this world, the momentum of violence and opportunity, it just steamrolls over any kind of hesitation. The time for talking is done. It's time to act.
And just look at how fast this all goes down. It's brutally efficient. That same night, they take out the Cuban crew.
Move it, CJ.
Then, after a little time to cool off, they take out the journalist. The timeline is just swift and ruthless. That whole moral conflict that seemed so important just a few minutes ago, it's all washed away in a wave of violence. Okay, so let's zoom out. What can we really take away from this incredibly dense and revealing scene? This isn't just a story about a crime, right? It's like a case study in how people justify their actions and how doubt gets crushed in a high-stakes world. So let's break it down. First, Jetty's code of punching up. That's the key. That's the ideology that gives them the green light to do what they do. Then you have Cost's moral conflict. It's real, he feels it, but it's totally powerless against the need for immediate, decisive action. In their world, if you hesitate, you lose. And finally, their identity as Puerto Rican captains isn't just a label. It's a whole framework that defines what kind of violence is okay and what isn't. And all of this leaves us with this one big, lingering question, doesn't it? Jetty, he truly believes in his code. He's convinced that they stand for something more than just being criminals. But is that code of honor a real moral compass? Or is it just a convenient way to justify the brutal things they have to do to survive and thrive in their world? That's really the question at the very heart of this story.